It all begs the question, how are we really doing and what exactly happened today? Joining us now to try to make sense of it all are StoneX Chief Market Strategist Kathryn Rooney Vera. You know, Kathryn, you could make a very smart argument that this jobs number, despite that huge headline, was actually not that great. Travel and leisure, most of the jobs. Government, number two. A record number of Americans holding multiple jobs. The household survey, which is, there's two surveys inside here, was actually sort of weak-ish, and unemployment actually ticked up. I wonder if that's kind of what the market was sensing and flipped. And if not, then what do you think it was?
Well, I'll add one data point to what you just said, Brian, and that is that real wages decelerated, albeit very slightly. So that's a good thing. I mean, if you see a gangbuster non-farm payrolls report that incorporates a non-acceleration in wages, that's, I think, the silver lining in this entire situation with this labor market report today. So the Fed can look at it from either of both ways. But what I would tell you is that it's very difficult to imagine the Fed actually getting to its 2% target with a labor market that's producing double the amount of new entrants into said labor market every month. So, you know, I think the Fed has a tough task ahead of it. I do think the terminal rate, Brian, ends at 5.5%, so we get at least one more rate hike. Well,
okay, at least one more. But Kathryn, I'll go back to you. The fact that stocks rose, that it was a 700-point reversal bottom to top for the Dow today, signifies to me, and again, say, no, Sullivan, you're completely wrong, as usual, that the Federal Reserve may soon be out of play, that soon we may be able to stop talking about the Fed like we've been doing every day for about 2.5 years, which seems like 25 years.
Isn't that the truth? I think Dan is right in many of his points, but one of which being that the algos come into play. And there were the guys coming in to buy the dips, and I think that makes sense. Buying the dips when you have a knee-jerk reaction to a data point like this. But I think you're right in the sense that the Fed is going to be old news going into next year, especially if and when the market does price out the 50 basis points in cuts that currently are priced in. I can't imagine a scenario, Brian, where the Fed actually cuts right now. So I think the risk is that the Fed holds the entirety of next year. And if they do have to cut, Brian, I think it's a negative thing because we'll probably be in recession at that point.
All right, we'll leave it there on a positive note. I do know this, the next 6 to 9 months for the consumer and data are going to be very interesting. We'll see student loan payments restarting. A lot of headwinds there. If we can get through it, Dan, that would be, I think, a very optimistic scenario. But Dan,
we agree.
There you go. We all agree on that. We'll hug it out virtually.
We certainly do.
Kathryn and Dan, have a great weekend. We appreciate it. See you soon.
Thank you, sir.